So, are you racing 70.3 New York or Jones's Beach this year? If so, and this is the video for you because in it, two experienced Ironman U certified coaches are going to break down the course into the swim, the transition one, the bike, transition two, and run course and give you all the hints and tips that you need to absolutely smash your 70.3 in New York. But who are we? Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Steve and Moody, or Coach Steve to my athletes. I'm an Ironman U certified coach for the last 15 years. I've been coaching for 20 plus years. And I've got a number of athletes who've gone stateside and had great races. Obviously, this is only the second Jones's Beach race, but an exciting one. And I'm delighted to have Wendy Mader on board as well, who is a very experienced Ironman U certified coach and has got buckets of athletes to start and finish lines of many 70.3s. Wendy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Super. I'm excited about this race. It was at another race for stateside VU. So I think we've now reviewed 3 stateside races, and I've only got. I'll have to bring more European races and get you on interviews for them.
Yes, I'd like that.
Yeah. So
I'm excited to do this race because it's the second year of it happening. So it's kind of a new course, new excitement. Athletes like to do new courses, but at the same time, when there's new courses, it's hard to understand what's going to happen because they've only done it once and they had a washout last year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's a very active forum I see on Facebook. So the race director seems well on it. So let's hope they get better weather this year, because this type of race deserves it. But let's hop into the detail and talk us, and let's give them all the hints and tips that they need, regardless of what weather New York throws at them, and that they have a great race day.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's kick off with the swim course. So what's your thoughts when you're having a look at this one straight off, Wendy?
Pretty straightforward. I mean, pretty straight lines, not a lot of corners, not a lot of turns, buoy to buoy. It seems like a very fast course. It's in a bay, so there shouldn't be much water turbulence for the athletes. And it should be easy sighting. Again, buoy to buoy. Really looks nice.
Yeah, I had a look at some of the racing pictures as well, and also talked to some athletes. So it's like it was choppy last year because there was a bit of wind on it. But again, as you said, on a normal kind of standard day for September, they should have smooth sailing, so to speak.
It's not going to be turbulent like ocean water, because it's in the bay. But definitely, if weather picks up, you can't control that.
Absolutely. And again, also the good news is so far it's always been wetsuit legal, but as you said, it's only its second year, and not a word of jellyfish like you hear in Maryland. So I think that makes a lot of newbies happy to hear that.
Yeah, and I think again, just based on the first year and based on the weather, I think in late September, chances are pretty high it's still going to be wetsuit legal. So that's what I would prepare for. But like any race, I always encourage athletes to prepare for the unexpected. So I think it's also important for the athletes to, if they can, practice some open water swimming without the wetsuit, just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's key to get in the water now in your wetsuit and do some open water swim practice. Like a lot of mistakes a lot of newbies will make is they'll do all their swim training in the pool, and it's not easy because swimming is a technical sport. It's a world of difference when you're actually swimming and people touching you and like they sort of bumping into, and you might see something moving in the water. It kind of can freak out if you haven't had experience. So again, people get out your swim buddies, get the wetsuit on, get that feeling in the water, especially for this sort of swim. Any other tips you can give your guys for swimming in their first 70.3?
Well, I think, getting that wetsuit on, if this is going to be your first, especially if this is going to be your first open water swim in a wetsuit, get that wetsuit on because it does feel constricted. Doesn't mean it is, but there's always some constricted feeling first time you put on a wetsuit. And then, practice sighting, best if possible to practice your sighting skills in open water. There's a few ways to sight depending on how choppy the water may be, but we're hoping for a kind of a calm swim terrain. So I always like to encourage athletes to practice, at least in the pool, their alligator eyes, their breathing patterns. And it's really important to sight frequently, especially in the start of a swim, because there's going to be a bit more bodies around you. and you just want to make sure you're on course. But like I said in the beginning, it's a pretty straightforward course that you shouldn't really veer off in no man's land.
No, absolutely. I think the giveaway is if you start hitting land too early, you've gone too far. And it's a really good point about the constricted wetsuit. What I get my guys is if you have a chance for a practice swim, get in, pull the wetsuit open, let that bit of water get down into the wetsuit, and it gives it stretches out the chest of the wetsuit a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned alligator eyes. And by the way, make sure to check out Wendy's Instagram account. I've been following her. She's doing some really cool stuff with showing, like the visually showing what this means. And alligator eyes, you pop up. You don't pull your foot out of the water. You're just up enough to actually see that you're heading towards that red buoy there, or you're following the person in front, etc. So make sure you check out her Instagram account on that. Drafting, what's your take on that for the swim? Any advice on people drafting?
You know, I've read just recently, I think there was a 7% increase in speed in the water if you draft off someone who is slightly faster than you. I mean, obviously, you're not going to go faster if you're drafting off a slower swimmer. So if you can get on someone's feet, better yet, try to get on someone's hip to try to catch that draft to kind of pull you along. That's very helpful. That doesn't mean you should count on them unless they're one of your swim buddies and you practice drafting with them. You know what that's like. It's also important to get used to, you know, if you can in a pool, get used to people swimming on your left side and your right side in close proximity, so you know what that feels like. But definitely trying to catch a draft will definitely benefit you, and it's legal in the swim, so why not do it? You know,
Yes.
you still need to sight, and you still need to rely on your own effort and your own pace and your own race execution. But there's been moments where I've indirectly, not intentionally, caught some drafts, and then I would like get out of the draft just to sense how much of it was helping me. And I'd get out of the draft and be like, nope, I'm getting right back in that pack.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right about actually trying to find the right people to draft off. And now I'm a chatty person already, you know that from a couple of videos we've done. But what I always do when we're in the swim corral, and we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds, I'm always chatting to people. And hey, so what you do last 70.3? What you expecting now? And they go, oh yeah, no, I'm looking for 35 minutes. And I go, I'm aiming for 36. So if I follow him and stay on it, and if he's telling the truth, there's a lot of lying in the corrals, a lot of egos going on. But if they're telling the truth, I went, if I stay on his feet or his hip or her hip, that means I'm going to save myself a minute of time. And I'll be, as you said, I'm saving 7% of effort in terms of kind of the energy I need to go at that pace. So my top tip to my guys is get chatty in the corral, figure out as in like, you know, who are they going to be the strongest swimmers, and try to just stick beside them until you go into the water.
Yeah.
Any other tips in terms of getting ready for the swim, Wendy?
I didn't look, but if they do offer a practice swim, a lot of races do offer a practice swim the day before the race. It's a good opportunity for you to get acclimated to the water temperature, again, test out your wetsuit, and, you know, just swim, you know, maybe 500 or so just to get some sighting skills and just kind of get your body acclimated to another start of a swim.
Yeah, no, and we'll look at the race timetable at the end of the slide, so we'll be able to highlight. But again, yeah, practice swim, and even in the morning, if there is the option, and again, I suspect there might be a chance just to pop in, get the water down the wetsuit, as I said. But even if there's no chance to get in the water, like certain races, they don't allow you, but bring a bottle of water, and you can actually pour the bottle of water down as well, so that gets the water in and gets what the breathing will feel like. But we've both mentioned now in terms of the swim cutoff, it's 1 hour and 10 minutes. And we're going to talk a little bit about a rolling start here, which is something that's it's been implemented for Ironman for the last couple of years, but it can be very new to someone who's new to the sport. And what do we mean by a rolling start? And myself and Wendy have talked about corrals. When you turn up on race morning, you will see that there are there's little yellow signs that have under 25 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes. Like what are they talking about? That is your estimated swim time to finish the 1.9K swim. And what you do is you have to seed yourself accordingly into that group. And this is, I have the video, a picture here, of what that looks like. As in, what they'll do, they will allow the fastest swimmers go in first, but they don't just open the floodgates and everyone piles in like they used to do in the mass starts when we started off this sport, Wendy. Now they do a gated start, and as you can see in the picture here, there's 4 gates, and you can see the volunteer holding out their arms. What happens on race day at the start of the race, that they will start, they'll signal, I don't know if there's a cannon or a gun in New York, but they'll go, and then every 4 seconds a beep will go. The volunteers here will open up lift up their arms, and then those 4 people will go into the water. This is the effect of actually allowing the Ironman control the swimmers into water. So, and it makes it a lot less stressful event in terms of whether everybody piling in beforehand. So it's a nice controlled flow. And what's the benefit to you in terms of getting in the right corral, or is there a benefit of saying, oh no, I'm feeling strong today. I've only ever swam 40 minutes for a 1.9. I'm going to put myself into sub 25.
No, no, because then if you put yourself in a that much faster corral, then people are just going to swim over you, and that may cause panic and anxiety. People touching you, people who are swimming over you are going to get frustrated because they're like, well, why is this slow swimmer in front of me? They should be behind me. And just to point out, in lots of North American events that I've been to, they also actually line you up, so they let you go one at a time. And it's fine. It's calm. Just be calm about it, because your race time doesn't start until you cross that starting mat. So be calm. If you're feeling like, okay, I have to line up in the hour wave, I'm going to be starting a half hour late, your time will start when you cross the starting line. So I think it really, from what I've seen, has really kept athletes a lot calmer, which they want to be when they're starting an open water swim. And just be, if you're between a 40 and a 45, line up behind the 40, not the 45.
Yeah.
If you're, between a 45 and a 50, again, I always would say line up, because you're not going to be like in the first row. You're going to be behind other 45-minute people. So try to be as honest as you can when you line up.
Yeah. And back to your point about drafting, if everyone's honest, you will be surrounded by swimmers roughly the same level as you. Because as I don't know about you, but as I said, if I try to draft off a 25-minute half Ironman swimmer, I get dropped fairly quickly. So I don't see those guys again. But if I put myself in the 35-minute corral, you can have that moment to form that little pod of swimmers, which is that, as you said, that great moment where everybody's being kind of sucked along by the group dynamic. So do seed yourself correctly, seed yourself honestly, park your ego, park the concerns about the timing, Matt, because that only goes beep for you when you cross it, and then literally at the start line. Okay, cool. So let's move on to transition. I think it's a single transition, and it's not a kind of standard Ironman transition with the transition bags. What's your take on what they call a dirty transition, where you actually can lay your kit out beside your bike? What's your advice to your athletes on that, Wendy?
Well, yeah. So again, going back to what you just said, most 70.3s and 140.6s don't allow you to lie your stuff out in front of your bike. This one does. So keep your space small. I like to use like maybe if you have a towel, kind of make it, 1 foot by 1 foot or whatever. You don't need to sprawl your stuff. Keep your transition bag out of everyone else's way, and just set up in your transition what you need. I like to put my helmet on my bike, my sunglasses in my helmet. So what's on my little transition towel is my cycling shoes, my running shoes, my visor, and my racing belt, and possibly some bars or gels, whatever I'm going to carry for nutrition. So I keep it very minimal.
Yeah. And I've got a nice little picture here, which I found as well. I think this is actually quite a tidy transition setup, and you could actually see that fitting in between. Remember, there's going to be lots of bikes racked together. And so, yes, and it's thinking through what you need to go through to get on your your swim to bike. Now, again, obviously enough, when we're actually getting out of the swim, there's going to be a bit of a run up the transition. So use that time wisely. And again, a tip as well, the day before when you're racking your bike, and you have to rack your bike before, walk the transition, walk from this point here, like with our little checkered flag, up to the T, figure out what that's going to be like, walk to where you're going to rack your bike, take some, actually take physical, like actual pictures of what your bike is beside, because then you'll remember when you have race brain. And then you lay out your transition area like this. And as Wendy said, everything kind of neat, tidy, because if it's sprawled out, someone can kick it when they're running to transition, or you can kick it when you're running to transition. Minimal, efficient, and ready. And think through what you have to do when you come in. Obviously, you're going to get your wetsuit off. There's a bit of a run. You know, there's a video in the comments below about how to get your wetsuit off very quickly. And during that run up, I get my guys, get it down to the waist. Anything you can do while moving is saving time when you get to the bike. And then helmet on, bike shoes on, bike out to the mountain line, and off you go. Other tips, Wendy, what's your kind of...
So when I get to my transition, you know, I get the wetsuit off, I put my glasses on, helmet, fasten the helmet. That's important that you fasten the helmet before you unrack your bike, before you run to the mountain line. Make sure that helmet is fastened.
Yeah, that's a penalty, isn't it? You get, was it depending on the marshals, you can get a kind of a stop go penalty in European races. I'm not exactly sure what the US ones.
Yeah,
but it's a silly penalty you get as well. As in, like, it's just think through what you need to do. What are you in terms of it? Are you wear socks on the bike type person, or are you just talcum powder in and go go go? I'm
a sock person in a 70.3. I'm a sockless person in the sprint or Olympic, but in a 70.3 and Olympic, I will take the time to get the socks on before I put my cycling shoes on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I've never used powder before, and I've been doing this for over 30 years.
Oh, having it's a classic European thing, as in it's like, oh, it's almost like Christmas at times, because there's like white powder going everywhere and all the rest, and people used to try to get a little bit cute and actually mark out their area with talcum powder, but they because it was happening so much at races, like the place looked like it was a winter wonderland, because there's white talcum powder everywhere. And so you actually used to give out penalties if you were seen like sort of marking a little arrow towards your transition. But it's useful you might find it useful in sprints, because what you do is you put it in and it helps dry your feet as you're running. And what we're essentially looking here is avoiding wet feet, kind of getting blisters either on the bike or on the run. Okay, cool. Any other tips?
Just, again, make sure where that mountain line is, and remember to run your bike to the mountain line.
Yeah. And actually, I'm going to throw another one on top of that, because you just made me think, because I just raced 70.3 Duisburg in Germany. And what I found was everybody went over the mountain line and stopped dead. It was as if like someone pulled a parachute on them. So they had all these 5 people all just like, and people were trying to bump into them. It's just you take an extra couple of yards, as in run forward, get yourself into space, because no one's going to bump into you, and you're not wasting a huge amount of time. But you're right. Get across it, and I go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit. That was transition 1, and now we are going to move on to the bike course. Oh, actually, a quick one just before we do. I hope you're enjoying the video. Myself and Wendy talk about these courses all the time. She's got a wealth of knowledge. She's done so many races in North America and the European as well, and she's does some great Instagram stuff and great YouTube stuff. So make sure to check out and follow her on those forums. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more race reviews, which is going to be my focus for the next while. But that'll be really appreciated. But the bike course. Well, now, again, what do we think when we'll see this bike course straight off?
Well, when I first looked at the bike course, I thought, oh, it's a long out and back, but it's 2 loops. So it's not that long out and back, because it is a 2-loop course. But one thing I think of is, for every headwind that you may have in one direction, you're going to have a tailwind. So just be aware of, sometimes there could be long stretches where you do have a headwind, but then that means you're going to turn around and have long stretches where you have a tailwind. So manage your effort, again, depending on the amount of wind for that day.
any tips for going into a tailwind? What's your top tip to your athletes? Sit up on the bike and make yourself small. What do you do, Wendy?
Well, again, for a tailwind, yes, actually make yourself big so there's more surface area of your body for the wind to push. Depending on the nature of the course, of course, you want to stay aero, but don't worry if you do have to stand up and just take advantage of standing up with the tailwind so it's pushing you. And again, I think the main thing about headwind, tailwind is again managing your effort into the headwind as well as the tailwind. You don't want to like give up in the headwind because you're frustrated and then blow your wad in the tailwind. You want to try to manage it so your effort is the same in the headwind as it is in the tailwind. Because often, depending on if you're using a power meter, you may get frustrated that you're going slow because there's a headwind and you're not experienced enough to know you're going slow because there's a headwind. And then you're not experienced enough to know that you're going fast because there's a tailwind. So if there's a tailwind on the way out, hopefully you'll recognize that you're speedier than normal because of the tailwind. So when you turn around, you're going to expect to be slower than normal because of the headwind.
Absolutely. And that was exactly I raced Texas there last year, and there was a marked difference. So I was holding 27k an hour into the wind, and I was quite deflated. I was just thought, wow, I'm just not hitting the numbers. But again, looking at the power and my heart rate as in where I thought I should be, I went, no, I'm okay. And you're kind of looking at the other guys coming back and went, they're smiling an awful lot. I went, there's a big tailwind coming. Just control it. As you said, don't burn out too many matches. Make sure you're taking on board fuel. Make sure you're keeping hydrated, because no matter, like, you could try to push watts, but you can't. Then you're going to just have your legs just fried when you turn around. But yeah, and turned around and it was an absolutely belted back, like I was holding 40k an hour and all the rest, without going too hard at all. And I was actually running that moment. We were running out of big gears, and I'm on my cages was hitting like 100, and I was going, I wish I had another gear at this point. But
yeah,
no, absolutely. And then the head, as you said, the headwind, make yourself aero, get down in the bars, minimize that frontal resistance. Road surfaces meant to be quite good from what I've heard. The closed roads as well, in terms of it's typically American closed roads where they actually sort of the police will manage all the intersections, etc. Have you heard anything else about the course or any other insights on it?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Yeah.
And one thing again, looking at a map at this little profile map, oh my God, they looks like there's a huge climb. There's not. That little climb with the 2 peaks looks deceivingly like there's going to be a big hill. It's just going to be a slight gradual climb. There's only, I think, 750 feet of elevation gain in 56 miles.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, it's a relatively flat. It's a flat course, so it should be fairly fast.
Yeah, the guy who does these maps, I think, for the elevation graphs for Ironman, is actually trying to stress people out at times. There was another one that we recently did, and it's renowned for being one of California, actually, and it's kind of like, it's known for being one of the flattest courses on the circuit, and then you look like the graph was stuck together, and the axes were just like that. So yes, no, it's a flat course, it's good surface, and it's the wind will be more of a factor, as you correctly pointed out, Wendy, and then it does come down to making sure you fuel and pace yourself adequately. Any other tips you give to guys or girls on their first Ironman bike?
No, I think one thing that looks good is they're telling you the swim plus transition plus the bike is a 5.5 hour cutoff.
Yeah, and that's again if you manage your effort correctly, that should be right. And again, back to fueling. So the fueling is key, and we could talk about that forever. But in terms of, again, if you're new to Ironman racing, they have a very set kind of structure in terms of the aid stations, where you can see here, shows what you'll typically drive a cycle past, where there's a bottle toss at the start and at the end. And do not litter. If you litter outside this and one of the motor marshals or any marshal or volunteer sees you, that's a red card offense, which is 100% correct, because we are guests in New York. We do not litter. But if you throw in these trash zones, as you Americans call it, rubbish for us. It means that it's easier for Ironman to tidy up afterwards. Then you've got water that where the volunteers are holding out bottles of water, and they'll indicate, and you can cycle in, grab the water bottle, and either fill up your front hydration or put it in your bottle cage and move out. There's also mortal hydration in terms of the isotonic drink. There's food, typically bananas, Morton gels, Morton bars, another option for mortal hydration, another water option, and then there's a chance to chuck your trash. There's also normally portaloos here, so if you are needing to call up nature, this is the place to go. What's your take on? Have you heard anything more about the mortal hydration on courses? What are your athletes saying, or what's the feedback you've heard so far, Wendy?
I haven't heard anything negative about the mortal hydration. I think athletes who have a little bit more experience, who are used to maybe like the Gatorade endurance, have figured out the difference between the mortal and the Gatorade and the other products offered now. And they figured out the ratios that they need to supplement with. I haven't tried it, so I don't know much about it.
Yeah. And again, I've done it, as I said, I've done a few of these other reviews. There are mixed reviews. There's mixed feedback. Some people love it because they just, and typically it is the mango on the bike course, and it's the berry on the run course.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. There is differences. There's less salt, or there's more salt in mortal, and there's less carbohydrates in than Gatorade because there's more sugar in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it's a very divisive subject in who you talk to, and like in the Ironman community. But the thing is, it's on course. You can moan about it all you want in a forum, but like they're not going to change it. So either plan to have your own hydration, or was it just get you a trial out some mortal hydration beforehand?
Yep.
Okay, look. The only thing as well, and again, aid stations, myself and Wendy could chat about this for ages. It's a specific skill that a lot of newbies don't practice and get very nervous about, because when you see it in a video, it's because like, wow, they're zooming in, they're grabbing a bottle with one hand and they're putting the bottle in and they're doing handstands on the bike. Not really. There is a specific skill, and it is something you can actually practice at home. If you have like a partner friend and just like they can pretend to be the aid station person holding a bottle out, you slow down, you grab the bottle, you put it into, or you fill up your bike, and then you chuck it into the trash zone. But they actually do that. There's a video in the comments below that shows you exactly what you need to do and things you should not do, things you should do to make it a very safe area, because it is one of the more dangerous areas on the course. Because think about it, there's lots of athletes on bikes moving at speed or slowing down or speeding up, coming into one area where there's stuff that's been dropped already. There's bottles, there's food, there's gel wrappers, etc. So it could be, if you're not paying attention, it can end up, you can take out yourself and a couple of competitors. So check out the video, figure out what you need to practice in advance. Right. Okay. So we are going now to talk about transition 2. No red bag, as we said, Wendy, but your top 3 transition 2 tips to a newbie, what are they?
Lighten up your gear on the bike, maybe say the last mile or two, so you're spinning your legs and you're getting more into like a run cadence, so you're getting your legs ready. Dismount. The dismount line is the same as the mount line, so make sure you slow down and take an extra few seconds to slow down and dismount appropriately. Run your bike to the exact same place where you got it from, so it's the same rack that you use to unmount it. And then again, as I'm dismounting, running my bike, I'm going through the process of, I do the reverse of how I got ready for the bike. I take my helmet off, put it in my aero bars. I may or may not use the same glasses. Take my shoes off, put my run shoes on, grab my visor and racing belt, and run out of transition. The less time you're in there, the less things that are going to go wrong. So make it quick. I put my racing belt and my visor on while I'm running out of T2.
Yeah, perfect as well. And you made me laugh, and I was just thinking about one of the times when I was racing Ironman Barcelona. I didn't slow down enough, because I was doing something daft. I was looking at my Garmin going, wow, that's a good bike speed. I want to make sure that that's a, and again, these are things you don't need to do when your bike is coming in at like 25 kilometers an hour. Saw the mountain line coming too quick. I slammed on the brakes. I had one of my legs over. And what happened was my bike kind of went up on one wheel, and I just, and it actually did, the whole bike just swung over and
I've
hit
seen that.
And I hit some poor German guy called Gert. I actually, and I lost more time in transition because I was so embarrassed. I was apologizing to Gert for a while. I wasn't hurt or anything, but I just went, I'm really sorry. And then to make it worse, I ran off and dropped him on the run. But hey, listen, he was never going to beat me on the run anyhow. But you're right. Slowing down, being smooth, being purposeful, knowing where you're running in with your bike and holding it by the saddle so you can kind of point it, and rack the bike. Only then can you take your helmet off. Again, reverse to your other point about the penalty, and shoes on. And I love your point about running out with your visor in your hand and your shades and your belt on, because there's no point standing there and putting that on because your legs are just going to cramp up and you're not. Start moving. As in, if you're moving, you're improving your time. So that's the board. And again, I have to quote, and I've promised my friend, because he gave me this great quote that I say in every single video. So I'm going to have 170 videos with this quote. And he said, "Nothing good happens in T2."
I remember you said that last time.
Well, I know, I'm going to get t-shirts printed up, but I think it's great fun. But he says it like deathly silent. You wait for the. I go, nothing good happens in T2. And his most happy moment was he was at IRONMAN 70.3 Mallorca, and he heard some girl who'd obviously watched the course review video, and she was panicking, and her friend was shouting it, "Nothing good happens in T2." So maybe I'm going to become a catchphrase. But yes, we get in, we get out. Everything's smooth, everything's purposeful. You know where the run exit is. You've recce'd that out the day before, and you get going. Any other transition 2 tips for our gang?
No, hopefully by now, race day, you've practiced running off the bike and you've kind of practiced going through the routine of the steps: helmet off, glasses on, bike shoes off, run shoes on, visor, racing belt, go. And you've already done that in training. So it's just another day of training to repeat what you've already practiced.
Absolutely. And it's something that triathletes in general, especially iron distance, they tend to just don't practice transitions. Go, no, that's not important. But a good transition and can actually, yes, it could be a couple of minutes, which isn't massive in the great scheme of things, but you can start off like on a bad footing almost. Like, you've got your shoes on wrong and you run for the first kilometer and you've got like a blister because you didn't practice getting, say, for example, another top tip is putting Vaseline on the back of the heel of your shoe because that comes on quicker. Putting on socks. Don't forget our socks. We're sock people, Wendy. And putting on dry socks. You'll know these things. If you practice it, it just removes the risk of something big going wrong on the day, because some things will go wrong, and it's just how you adapt and survive on the day.
Yep.
Cool. Let's move on to our run course. So talk us through this, Wendy. What are we thinking on Long Island? It is Long Island, isn't it? I always get the island.
It's very, very flat. So it should be fast, not a guarantee to be fast. It just depends on if flat courses are your strength. So it's a 2-loop course too. So very spectator friendly. Make sure you tell your family, kind of where you want to see them out on the course. And same type of aid station etiquette where, you don't want to throw out any trash on the course. You want to make sure if you're going to throw out a gel pack or cup or something that you do it in that transition zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I said, you're right on the even our Ironman course guy, graph guy, couldn't make this look hilly. It is pancake flat. I've seen again in terms of the picture as well. It seems to be a mixture of concrete anyhow and sort of asphalt, as you guys would call it.
Yeah.
So it's again making sure that you pace yourself well in the first. I tell my guys to break the run instead of just being a half marathon, which might seem a bit daunting. I go, look, break it into 3 by 7 kilometer chunks or 4 by 5K. The first 5K, you're holding back. You sort of go, wow, I could do this all day long. And then the next 5K and the one after that, you're kind of looking for the race pace. And to your point about you're practicing your bricks and stuff like that, where you run straight off the bike and training, that you will know what that pace feels like. it's comfortably uncomfortable, but you're moving a little bit faster than you were the first 5K, and the last 6K we know just is going to suck. It's questioning life choices. It's digging into mantras and all the rest.
Yeah.
Aid stations. What's your tips on aid stations for your guys when on the run?
I don't pass up anything at an aid station, meaning I always grab water or the hydration product offered. So sometimes I don't drink the water, but I at least throw it on my body to keep cool. Because even on a cooler day, you still get a little bit hotter, overheated a little bit more on the run. So making sure you're grabbing water. And so for me, I rely on the hydration product as well as eating pretzels for my nutrition on the run. And then again, sometimes I'll have to stop, maybe take a little couple second breather on the run course where I might walk an aid station, but I don't walk between aid stations. So my goal, no matter how bad I'm feeling, I try to run aid station to aid station. And then maybe if I need to walk, I'll walk within the aid station.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant way of actually doing a lot. I know a lot of people do this run walk strategy and all the rest, and it breaks it up because the aid stations are roughly around a mile apart, and the way they're broken. So you're running 1 mile to 1 mile and all the rest, and you can walk. And the aid stations are typically around 300 meters long, so you've got a good walking stretch there. I 100% agree with you on the never miss up an aid station, and I've got two motives here. One, at that stage, you're running on fuels anyhow. You should have been fueling well on the bike for the run, but also it's kind of topping up whatever glycogen levels you have, etc. But my selfish motive is, as in because I've spent whatever $400 to enter this race, and I know I've spent in my training because I use Morton gels, probably another $400 on those Morton gels. I like to take my money back from IRONMAN on this, so therefore I'm thinking, okay, every one of these is like I'm taking almost like $5 off them, and I went, this is brilliant. Now I've yet to get all of them to earn my entry fee back, but that's why I aside from having one quick gel in transition when I'm running out, I won't carry anything. So because the aid stations are well stocked, you see people with the bottles and the rest. That's just extra weight you don't need to carry. There's loads of water. The volunteers are really good at getting you through it and all the rest. So yeah, no, definitely I don't carry anything. Any other last minute run tips for them or aid station tips for our guys?
No, again, don't pass up an aid station. You know, there have been instances where races have run out of water or out of aid. So it's important. Again, that's one way that you don't want to pass up an aid station in case the next aid station doesn't have what you want. Maybe they don't run out of stuff, but maybe they'll run out of a product that you were relying on. So make sure you get it at the aid stations that's offering it to you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, there's another thing as well, which Coca-Cola. I always tell my guys on the last 10K of the run, that's almost like your turbo boost button or press here for power moment.
Definitely.
Because you put in that stuff, it's just pure sugar, and at that stage, that's all your body's. You just eat something that's going to quickly turn into glycogen, quickly turn into energy, and there's no better man than Coke.
Yeah, I agree.
And 8.5 hours to get it done. As in, like, again, if you've done the training, if you pace yourself, if you have a nice leisurely swim, don't kill yourself in the swim. That, as Wendy was saying, make sure you manage your effort on the bike. Make sure you fuel well on the bike, particularly on the last lap, because you're fueling for the half marathon. Pace yourself nice on the run. And back to Wendy's point, never miss an aid station. Take something on board. If it's going to be, was it even just water down the back of the neck to get a bit of relief, etc. Okay, and then we have this, I believe, is the inaugural winner of last year's Ironman. She looks a very happy camper. So we're hoping that it's better weather for you this year. But again, as I said, I lived in New York for a year, and the weather can be very hit and miss at this time. But we wish them best luck.
And everyone can finish with a smile and their arms up. That's what I always encourage my athletes to do. You want a nice photo finish. So you may want to even put your arms up a little bit before you cross the red mat, the timing mat. So you make sure you get a nice finish with a smile on your face.
Absolutely. And again, and that's also, there's a little bit of etiquette which people don't realize. When you're on the red carpet, you've already put the way they put the timing chip, Matt. It's before that, so you've got your time. Don't sprint with someone on the mat because you're probably going to ruin their photograph.
Right,
And this
right.
is something that they really want. And the other one is don't do the classic. Oh, what's my time? And your finish line photograph is the top of your head.
Exactly.
We don't really. I don't want the top of my head and in any sort of shape or fashion. That's why I keep my hat on, make me look better. But you're 100% like this is a great picture, but there's no reason if you're finishing first, 200th, 1000th, and all the rest that you don't get that epic finish line picture. It's a great idea. Right. So some other things to consider. We've talked about race day nutrition, and again, you should have that dialed in. But in case you're looking for, was it just to make sure you know what your strategy should be in terms of how you're going to carry your fuel, what you should be taking, when you're going to take it, how you keep on track. There's a video in the comments below on that. What to pack to bring to New York if you're coming from over the pond or you're coming from the other coast, or there's a video shows you what to pack and a handy downloadable checklist. And then this, I think this, I'll put this video in for myself and Wendy's peace of mind, because around taper time is when we get way more WhatsApp, way more emails, way more calls from our athletes going, I think I'm injured. I think I'm getting sick. I feel unfit. It's just taper madness. You've been training so much, and then 2 weeks when you really ease off to let your body be like a coiled spring come race day, you just get a bit nervous. And I said that's when us coaches really earn our money. Some other top tips. The race brief is up on an athlete guide. Definitely read that. Book your bike in for service. Make sure you pack all your chargers, etc. Kind of last minute tips that you won't think of and can cause you stress on race day. Just make sure and avoid everything and lead up to rest day is all about stress minimization, being almost zen like. You've got the training in the bag, you're just ready to explode out of the blocks into that swim. But those videos are all in the links below, so make sure to check them out. Race day timetable. Okay, so in terms of your tips to your athletes getting checked in, what or even traveling to a race abroad, what's your advice to them, Wendy?
I think again, especially if you're traveling on a broad race, hopefully you're going to take a few days to get there, depending on the time change. I mean, I'd hate to arrive at a race that's 5 hour, 7 hour time change from me the day before, because then I'm not acclimated to Eastern time. Even Western time is a little bit different. So you just want to get there plenty of time for me being local. For a Sunday race, I would still want to arrive Thursday or Friday just to get there and, kind of, learn the venue that I'm at and just, time off your feet. Again, after you check your bike in the day before, that is really the time you should be off your feet. So don't plan any excursions or hiking or anything like that. You may want to because you're in a new area and you want to check it out, but save that kind of for after the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I get my guys as in get early. There's Ironman does bring its roadshow, as in they bring a razzmatazz to any event. Like I was just at Duisburg there, and it's normally a sleepy enough German town, but there was just energy around the whole place, and it's great to experience that, especially if you're new. But also, as I explained to my athletes, don't experience too much of it because it can actually drain you a little. You sort of go like, and you're sort of looking at these big, tall German guys, goes, oh, he's definitely going to beat me. And
Right.
And you're also almost trying to figure out what, like, you're almost asking random strangers, so what age are you? Are you in the 50 to 54 age group? Who are you? But yeah, so absorbing it, but also, as you pointed out, if you get there early, if something goes wrong, you can fix it quick. Like there's no problem that in the last couple of days that, like, if something goes around your bike, if you've forgotten your goggles, if these sort of basic stuff that can go wrong, you can fix that easy enough for a few hours time. So you don't turn up the day before and go like, oh my God, my wheel is buckled. I've got to find a local bike shop. Where's like la. So time, again, back to my point, minimize the stress. Zen like. And actually, we're just looking here in terms of the Friday. You're right. There is a pre-event swim between 12 and 4. So Wendy's point on that: get into the water, check it out, even to see what the visibility, the temperature, etc. It'll give you, again, reduces the nerves. Athlete briefings, buckets of them. Make sure you attend. These guys these guys are they do a really good job. And if anything changes at the very last minute, which can, Ironman California, like last year, they had to change because of the typhoon weather. That was it. So that's where you're going to get it, and that's where you're going to get key information. Even though we've given you some brilliant information here.
Yeah, plan your expo visit around the athlete briefing time. So you don't go to the expo, go back to your hotel, and then you have to go back out to go to the athlete briefing, then you go back in. I've been racing for 33 years and I still go to athlete briefings again for those last minute changes that could occur.
Yeah, no, that's it. I'm going to definitely go to all the Americans now because I've started to interview a couple of race announcers and race briefers like and Dave Latourette. So I'm dying to meet all these people in person.
Yeah.
So no, and again, it's part of the atmosphere. And also as experienced athletes, this is even before I was a coach, I used to always share my experience. So if I see someone sort of asking a question and kind of look, where's my timing chip? I haven't got a timing chip. No, you only get that when you check in your bike. You can play it forward a little bit and help, because other people helped me out when my first Ironman. I remember going around like a deer in headlights, but and I always remember very kind, I was in Frankfurt, kind German folks, English folks that are going, I clearly looked like I was scared. I was. But they helped me out. So I always feel you can help out your fellow athletes as well. Transition opens at 5:30 in the morning. What's your top tips for the guys in terms of the setup in the morning? Anything you get your guys to do?
You're going to be up early. You're not going to sleep much. Get there as early as you're allowed to get there. Everything's set up because you dropped your bike off the day before. You just have to manage your transitions spot area. But just getting there early allows you to check your tires, check if there's any mechanicals. Things happen overnight that you won't know about until you get there. So if you do get there and you have a flat tire, you're going to have plenty of time to take it to the mechanic for them to help you change it. And then you have plenty of time to stand in line for the porta-john multiple times and just meet people and socialize. And
exactly. Again, and I'm very chatty. And one of my friends I was racing with the weekend, he just goes into this phase, and he looks stressful. I'm there chatting, joking with like Dutch people, kind of like like English people, Scottish people, and I find it reduces my nerves. I know when I hear the beeps of people when let into the rolling start, my laughter dries up a little, but it's cool to. It's the whole experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's gonna not just the into the water. What's my pace? Onto the bike. What's my power? What's my run pace? It's not. It's interacting with the crowd. It's interacting with your competitors. It's that element.
Yeah.
So no, I agree. I get my guys to go early. I'd have, if it opens at 5:30, I'd have my guys there at 6. And you can you can check your bike in the morning, put your food on that day, put your bike computer on that morning. Don't leave that stuff on overnight, because it was the food being eaten by insects and stuff like that stuff. And as you said, if something's happened, you've got time, fix it. Remember Zen. I think maybe that's my other t-shirt. And then your race starts at 7 a.m. And on behalf of myself and Wendy, we hope that these tips will help you have an absolute super race day. Again, like the video. And also, if you have any questions, again, as you can see, Wendy is an absolute fountain of knowledge on this stuff. You don't race 30 years plus and not have experienced all the weird things and had some. And by the way, she's had some super results as well in terms of Kona qualifier. She's podiumed in like the main race. Not forget your age group. Our Wendy's a full-time podiumer, but she's also a super coach. I'm really happy to be kind of collaborating with her on stuff. So please do ping her with any questions, because she's very good at this stuff, and she's very, I just said, open and interactive. And by the way, if you want a PB next season, that's who you hit her up for some coaching plan. But at the moment, we just want you to get on the course, have a great day, and get completely bitten by the Ironman bug. And then, as I said, then you'll be part of our community. Anything else to add there, Wendy?
No, I think the hard work is done. You made it to the start line. The rest is your reward for all the training and preparation you did. Your reward is you get to do it on the race course.
No, absolutely. So on behalf of myself and Wendy, we wish you the absolute best. And again, check in the comments afterwards and let us know how you got on. Good luck in New York.
Have fun.